Welcome to Rotten Rebel. I'm here with the one and only Sandra Solomon Fragrance.
Yes, hi everyone.
And welcome back to yet another comparison. And this is definitely going to be a lot of fun. We have the brand new Paco Rabanne Phantom Parfum against the original Phantom. So like always, we have prepared paper strips with the dry downs, but let's start with the opening and the opening of the original Phantom. So please do share your thoughts on Phantom.
Very citrusy and fresh. Slightly aromatic, really nice, likable opening.
Yes, just like you mentioned, there's a bit of freshness in the opening, or quite a lot of freshness in the opening.
Yeah.
And like 30 seconds into the opening, you can feel something else coming in quite quickly.
Yes, something a bit sweet, something a bit slightly creamy, and something maybe greenish.
So like a minute or so into the dry down, I start getting something quite aromatic. The lavender pops through and I quite like it. Right here, right now, at this point in the opening, I think the opening it's definitely nice, and the more it has into the mids, the more I get a sort of a taste or sniff of its sweetness. So I'm gonna say the very first part of the opening is nice, but it definitely does not blow me away. But as it starts to move further into the opening, I'm getting more of that lavender. I'm definitely getting more of that vanilla.
Yeah.
I'm picking up on something like a sweetness coming through.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel this one starts to become a lot more interesting.
Yes, and I would say that this is not your ordinary sweet fragrance. This is not like warm, sugary sweet. This is fruity, fresh sweet.
Yeah.
And I really like the combination of that sweetness with the earthy side of it.
Yeah, the more this thing heads into the mids, the more I'm picking up on that earthiness. So at this point in the opening, this thing is pretty much like vanillic with a bit of earthiness, a bit of sweetness, a bit of that initial freshness is still there. And I gotta say, I'm enjoying this part a lot more than the actual first initial opening.
Yeah, it's way more interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, just like 5 or 10 minutes into the opening, I feel this one, at least to my nose, is pretty much dominated by that vanilla, a bit of sweetness, and you can feel that earthiness coming through. The initial opening is definitely, at least to my nose, not as interesting and exciting as what happens when it starts to hit the mids. So let's try the dry down of Phantom.
And the dry down is pretty much like the mids. This doesn't change that much going from the mids to the dry down. And I would say that to me, this one is mostly about lavender, about apple, that earthiness, and a hint of vanilla and some fruity sweetness.
The difference to me, the dry down feels, the earthiness of it is a lot more prominent. The vanilla is pretty much dominating in the dry down. It's a lot more intense, but there's a softness to it that I really enjoy. There's a slight hint of something sort of smoky about it, but to me it's just a slight hint of smokiness. But what really, to me, makes the dry down so nice is its sweetness and that fruity aspect of it. You can really pick up on its fruitiness in the dry down as compared to the mids where I could not pick up on it. And that to me really makes a big difference. So the dry down, vanilla, quite a prominent dose of vanilla, quite a prominent but soft dose of earthiness. It's slightly smoky. There are nuances of something that is smoky. It's definitely sweet, but I don't find this one to be too sweet. I do know a lot of guys think that this is like a mess of sweetness. I do not agree. I think there's a uniqueness to this scent. I feel this is a very underrated men's fragrance. And what really impresses me in the Dry Down is its fruitiness.
Yeah.
That fruitiness combined with everything else makes this a banger. This
Yeah.
is definitely crazy underrated.
It's really underrated. I have had this in many top lists because I love it. I love that fruity sweetness together with the earthiness, and this is a really unique and great men's fragrance.
So yeah, the Dry Down is definitely Rebel approved. I enjoy the Dry Down a lot. How do you feel about it?
I think it's amazing.
So let's move on to the brand new Parfum, Phantom Parfum. Please do spray it on.
Oh, this is something really different.
Yeah.
This is aromatic, it's sweet, it has something that is creamy, which is always a good thing in fragrances, and a bit of warmth.
I like the opening a lot. This is a gorgeous dose of lavender and vanilla. I'm picking up nuances of something that is slightly spicy. So to my nose, there's definitely spiciness in the opening. It's slightly sweet in the opening. And can I please?
No.
Come on. And there's a hint of freshness in the opening. So to me, the opening is pretty much dominated by a soft kind of lavender, vanilla. There's a bit of spiciness in there as well, but it's not a harsh, it's not a popping kind of spiciness, but it's there. It's slightly sweet, and there's a hint of freshness in the opening as well. But I don't feel this is a fresh kind of opening. There's a bit of freshness in the opening, but this is definitely not a fresh opening compared to the original, which really had a more fresh opening.
Yes, and the original is more citrusy fresh, and I would say that this is more fruity fresh. And apparently, there's supposed to be some rhubarb in here.
Yeah.
I love rhubarb. I can't say that I'm like picking it up and,
I can't
saying
pick
like
it up
this
on
is
it.
how rhubarb smells. But there is something fruity, a bit tart and fresh about it.
This is so damn good. The more this thing heads into the mids, the stronger the lavender and the stronger the vanilla. And as this thing heads into the mids, a soft kind of earthiness comes through and a hint of soft woodiness. So I'm picking up a bit of earthiness and woodiness as this thing heads into the mids. Also, it feels like there's a bigger dose of sweetness as it heads into the mids.
Yes.
So let's try the Dry Down of the new Phantom Parfum.
Still very fruity and absolutely woody, a bit fresh and somehow earthy. I would say that maybe even a bit more smoky than the original. Still not a very smoky fragrance, but just a hint of something extra. And I don't know if it's the earthy thing developing in some way.
Oh my! This part, the Dry Down, is my favorite part of this scent. The Dry Down to me has a prominent dose of soft woodiness. So there's a big dose of woodiness, but to me it's very soft. Together with that big dose of soft woodiness, the vanilla has grown in intensity as well. There's also a bit of earthiness in the Dry Down, and the sweetness has grown in intensity as well. The lavender is still there, but at this point it's quite soft. So this is pretty much dominated by vanilla, soft woodiness, a bit of earthiness. The earthiness to me is of the soft kind. The lavender is still there doing its thing, but in a quite less intense way.
Yeah.
And everything is a lot more sweet than in the opening. And here's the thing, if you try this one out, please wait until the sort of a far Dry Down. That part is intoxicating. I absolutely love that part. I do want to say something about its earthiness. I think that part is quite different in the Parfum if you compare it to the original. In the Parfum, it's of a very soft, slightly smoky kind, like you mentioned. You mentioned something that was a bit smoky. This is not super earthy like some fragrances can be. The earthiness is soft, so don't let that part scare you away. I Absolutely love the dry down. The dry down to me is something quite unique. I don't have anything like this in my collection. I think it's a fantastic dry down. How do you feel about it?
I think so too, and I want to add on top of everything you described this as in the dry down, it also has some kind of spicy wrapping that just makes it even more interesting than the original, and it is somehow richer and more nuanced than the original.
So I quickly want to touch on performance. The OG Phantom, the performance of the OG Phantom was quite good, at least on my skin. The new Phantom Parfum though actually feels a bit more intense. So this to me has better performance, i.e. better projection, and it lasts a lot longer on my skin. So I want to know your thoughts on versatility, so like occasions, seasons, stuff like that.
I think you could, both of these they are not heavy in any way, so I actually think you can wear them all year round. Definitely the original more in the spring and in the summer because it has that citrusy freshness, but you can wear this one in the spring and summer too because it's not heavy. And since both are not heavy, you can wear them to any occasion. Maybe the original is not your perfect dating fragrance because that requires something more deep, rich and spicy sweet like this.
So here are my thoughts on seasons and occasions, sort of a versatility. The OG is definitely more fresh than the Parfum. So the original, I feel you can use it throughout the year.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. The Parfum though, I've used it now on summer night outs and I actually feel the Parfum works on summer night outs. But with that said, I do feel that Phantom Parfum is a bit more suitable spring, fall and winter because I do feel that Phantom Parfum is a more heavier kind of scent, even though it's not heavy or cloying or anything like that.
Yeah.
As for occasions, I'm gonna say about both of these, you can wear them to pretty much any occasion. But I would probably choose something else for work. I would save these to when you are going out with your friends, definitely when you are going on a date. Definitely Parfum when you are going on a date. So in other words, I do feel that both of these are sort of a more casual scent rather than your work scent. But I do want to mention something about Parfum. This can be fantastic as a casual kind of scent, but I also feel this one works perfectly in combination with like a suit and tie. What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. This could be surprisingly good at a formal event when you have a suit and tie and just smell unexpected.
So it's time for us to decide which of these we would choose. If we could only choose one, you start. Which of these two is your favorite?
I am very impressed by both of these and I do like that they are very different from many other fragrances. This one does get a lot of hate that is totally unnecessary because this is an amazing fragrance. I think both are good. I am having such a hard time to pick one because I really love the freshness, the earthiness and the sweetness in the original, and this is the first one I fell in love with, even though everyone said bad things about it. I am torn between the original, which is very different, and the new one, which is more like fragrances I have smelled before because it has more of the aromatics in it and it's a bit more spicy and dark. So this is really tough and I'm gonna go with both.
Whoa! No, we had this discussion before.
Okay.
You gotta choose.
Okay, I'm gonna choose. So I am going to choose both.
Stop it. Choose one. You gotta choose.
I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
Wear this one when you want to smell happy. And
Okay.
wear this one when you want to smell sexy.
Hey. You trying to get
Okay.
away. You gotta decide. Come on.
You can decide first.
Okay, so here are my thoughts on this. There are definitely similarities between these two, but they are also quite different. This one to me, like in a nutshell, is a more fresh version. This one is a more dark and deep version, even though I don't feel it's too deep. I like the OG Phantom a lot. This is a compliment getter. This one though, that dry down, I'm addicted to it. To me, this one is the sexier one. This is the one that gives me a sexier kind of vibe. It makes me feel hotter. So I'm gonna go with that one.
Okay, and I am going to not copy you, and I'm gonna go with the
Whoa.
original. But with that said, I think you should just wear both and be happy and sexy.
And I gotta say this, you and I have done a ton of comparisons. I don't think you ever tried to get away 3 times by saying it's a tie. But yeah, I prefer the new Phantom Parfum and Sandra Solomon Fragrance prefers the OG. So I would love to know how you feel about these two. If you could only choose one of these, which one would you choose? Put that in a comment. Please drop a like on this video. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you head on over to Sandra Solomon Fragrance's channel. I'm gonna link to her channel in the description below. Sub to her, sub to me, and I'll see you in the next one.